this episode of Legislative Insight, we bring you to Bryant University for an economic summit sponsored by the U.S. Small Business Administration and Center for Women in Enterprise. Dynamic conversation with strong suggestions resulting. Hundreds of business leaders and elected officials met in breakout groups to dissect the issues plaguing business and development in our state. Recommendations for change were presented to the state's leadership. The topics ranged from taxes to healthcare to education, with the common theme of improving the state's business practices.
The one issue that struck a chord to everybody, and you're probably going to read about in the paper tomorrow, is the letter of good standing issue. We're requiring letters of good standing to do many more business transactions, and Rhode Island is a disaster when it comes to that. I get a letter of good standing in the state of Delaware. I get it in 24 hours. I get it in Massachusetts in 36 hours. I go to the Division of Taxation and hand it to them. They say, as a minimum, it's going to be 4 to 6 weeks, and sometimes it can be 4 to 6 months. Governor, I would say, this is something I would just say, fix it.
The letters of good standing, that seems pretty easy to fix. I think that what we'll do there is look at best practices and give that a little bit of attention. There's no need to be an outlier in certain things.
Other things we need to really focus on is education, resources, and support to the small business community on purchasing health insurance and on the financial impact of the employees and themselves. We find that education is a real issue here as far as through the whole system. And the more educated that we can make the consumer, the person that is out there getting the health care, the more educated they are in the process, I think the more we'll be able to get control of some of the costs. And we would like to see more transparency on the costs for small businesses, consumers, and policymakers on the expenditures in the healthcare system.
The United States has reached the all-time high in craft breweries in 2015, and beer consumers continue and will continue to support and they shift to the local market. Farm to keg is thriving, and more breweries are growing literally in our state. Rhode Island has its own hops farm, and I don't know whether any of you are aware, but we also have the largest distributor of grains that are used for the manufacture of beers that happens to be headquartered in Cranston. So, yeah, yay team, right? But the problem is that our brewers face a unique challenge because they can't sell their products directly to the consumer. Currently, they can only give visitors up to a 72-ounce sample, and they can come to sample their beer. But this prohibition against self-distribution is not reflective of what the sentiment is in these days, and it impacts consumers, restaurants, farmers markets, and the growth of this very important industry. It will, if we facilitate our craft breweries, really increases revenue to the state and will create jobs and all of those good things that we know that are important. We would like to see, and the recommendations are that we take steps to foster our ambitious and forward-looking small businesses, and we need to remove the regulatory hurdles and enable our craft brewers to grow. It should come as no surprise that Rhode Island is the only state in the region that has these types of restrictions, and it puts us behind our neighboring states.
We think there should be a line item veto for the governor with regards to the budget. We don't see a reason why that should not be in existence. We think that there should be a statewide coordination of all state resources available, including all of the resources and the regulations and requirements and resources of the 39 cities and towns. No business person should have to run from one city to another to find out what the differences are. No business owner should have to run from one state agency to another to find out what they are. This needs to be coordinated on a statewide basis. It only makes logical sense.
Property taxes are a problem. Not necessarily because they're high in some communities, but they are. But also they're not predictable, and the reevaluations that occur cause concerns in the market. You go to other states and there are cranes putting up new buildings everywhere, and we're not doing so. So you get a little more money from your current property tax payers, but because you're doing so, nobody else is comfortable coming in, and you're hurting yourself long term. So we have to look at making that predictable.
We feel the need to allocate resource and funding to implement cultural competency training for state and municipal agencies. When we talk about diversity, we don't talk just about the language. It's about the culture.
We've talked a lot about education, and not only the delivery of education, but the funding of education. We're actively participating in the working group now that's looking at in great detail the education funding formula and talking about realities that we have to address if we want to move forward.
When people do work together, things happen quickly. That's what we need from government. So we need a culture of efficiency and cooperation. Lean initiatives are key. They are our hope for so much future progress. Commerce programs like ACT and STAT are great. Work together. It's really not, rocket science. Put agencies like CRMC and DEM together as one was a wish from our group today. But the essence is to eliminate conflicts between departments so businesses can move through the process and accomplish compliance readily. That should be everybody's objective, compliance.
Regulations, that's a difficult issue. It's something we've been working on. We've improved our regulatory process, but you almost have to change the culture. We have to want to do business more efficiently, and everybody in line along the way has to agree, and you got to get rid of the friction point. So,
the overall sentiment from the group today was, we all love our state. That's why we're here, and that's why we're making recommendations.
Last year's event was very similar format, in fact. The committees met in the morning and they brought their ideas and suggestions to the leadership here in the auditorium. They all had one goal in mind: to improve the business climate for small businesses in Rhode Island. Many of those ideas and suggestions were heard and acted upon.
What kind of day do you think it is? Windy. Windy? How come? How can you tell?
Because the leaves are blown off the tree.
That's right.
Welcome to Dr. Daycare, an early childhood educational center. At their age, the children here don't understand about business climate or necessary regulations, but they do know this is a pretty great place to come to school every day. Dr. Marianne Shallcross-Smith, owner of this center, as well as others statewide, says she's succeeding because state leaders are making important changes.
I was so excited to hear the recommendations that came out of all the subcommittees and all the people that were there to share, and to know that the General Assembly is listening, government's listening, administration listening, governors listening. It actually was very, very positive. And I feel what they've done in the past is happening, and things are happening, and they're going forward.
So give me an idea of how an idea that was brewed back then may have come to fruition now and is benefiting you.
A couple of things is, one is the energy tax I talked about today. I mean, I had my finance person, Stephanie, when I knew I was going to meet with you, come up with a number we are going to be saving with $6,000. And we're going to be putting that right back into the health care for our employees.
How are you saving that kind of money?
Because we're no longer paying sales tax on energy, utilities, and heating oil and different things like that. And that was a piece of legislation that came directly from the General Assembly that got passed last year. That's pretty interesting, huh?
So it's nice to see that things are moving along.
They're listening, they're hearing us, they're making it happen. Yes, things are moving along.
Now, that $6,000, how does that benefit you as a business owner? And what will your employees see as a result, or even maybe the children see as a result?
The employees will definitely see. We've already made this decision that we're going to put it back into health care. Right now, our employees have like a higher health care copay, so we're going to bring other programs in and actually lower some of those. There's a program called Healthier You that we're also expanding into for all our employees. So yeah, the money's going to go right back into our employees and children and families.
So we're understanding that some of the cost benefits are coming back to the employees. How does this affect you personally?
I think it just really hits home that this is, a local business, and that the home office is out to support us. Mary Ann and all of the home office staff really put effort into creating a benefits package that is something that is very desirable. Early childhood is one of those fields where you really have to be passionate about it and really love to do it. So it's just an added perk of being around the kids all day long.
Last year's, a couple of years has been ongoing. There's like a workforce training grant, and my developmental person for education, she had utilized it for training our staff for food safety, because the kids are being fed everyday nutrition food, breakfast, lunch, and snacks. And then we also utilize the money for training our teachers in curriculum, training our teachers in child development, and we also do it for CPR and first aid for all our teachers. So all the training money, I think we were allowed $15,000 that went in training all of our staff and administrators.
That's great.
That all came out of our wonderful General Assembly.
What is your overall impression of being a small business owner in Rhode Island?
I'm born and raised in Rhode Island. I'm staying in Rhode Island. I love Rhode Island. Child care business has been absolutely wonderful for all the people involved, for my staff, my team, especially my family. I think it's pretty cool to be, especially a woman in business in Rhode Island. Absolutely.
And you find that some of these suggestions are making your life a little bit easier and more productive?
It's definitely making it easier, definitely making it productive. Even a small thing like the Rhode Island corporate tax was $500. But how we arrange our business, each one of our daycare centers, because we have 6 and soon we'll have 8, each have a different FEIN number. So they're all separate corporations. So you times that times 10, because we have a home office corporation, it's going to probably save us $500. We've already allocated that to a piece of equipment in the playground.
New toys? Yes, that's something the kids can understand. Also, they know their teachers are enthusiastic and happy in their jobs. Tell me about your teachers.
They're nice.
They're nice? How come?
Because
What do they like to do?
they like to teach.
Do you have a favorite thing to learn? Like what?
Math.
So you come in the morning, you probably take off your coat, and then what do you do?
Go in the classroom, wash my hands. If I have breakfast, then I eat my breakfast. Or I go play. Who wants a cheeseburger?
I do.
Do you like cheeseburger?
Yeah.
Do you like pickles?
You go home and you see Mom and Dad, and they say, "How was your day?" What do you say?
Well, it was awesome.
And that is a satisfied customer of a small business in Rhode Island. For Capital TV, I'm Margie O'Brien.